Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Gary here, Butcher Boy. It's Friday, March 20th. Boy, this month is flying. Whew. Anyway, the story today, we're going to talk a little bit about relationships again. Really bad nightmare relationships. I mean, nightmare. Total nightmare. And I was discussing this with Bruce the other night because I met with him at his house. I brought him a rack of beer and we were shooting the shit. And he was asking me, I wasn't asking me, he was telling me how much he really wants to meet someone. And I said to him, I said, Bruce, when you got divorced last time, you guys you were both on the same page that you didn't get along anymore, and you went your separate ways, and it was a smooth going divorce, and you were fortunate in that. And but he's never been in a real nightmare relationship. And I said to him, I said, be careful what you wish for, you might get it. And what I meant by that, and I said to Bruce, until you've been in a relationship where it's so bad that you're afraid to go, if you're living together and you're afraid to go home because you're going to walk into hell on earth. And he said, what do you mean? I go, remember that gal Lori back in 1990 that I went out with, that I dated, that I had to have physically removed by the police? He goes, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. That's when I met Bruce in a bowling league back in 1989. And then that's how we became friends. And he knew about this chick, Lori. And I was reminding him of what a bad relationship's all about. And I'm sure people that I'm talking to today can understand. I'm sure there's people out there today I'm talking to a large audience that can understand what it's like to be in a real bad fucking relationship. A nightmare. I met this gal, Lori. She had a full-time job. I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest because I don't want these things to go long. She had a full-time job when we met. Of course, I had a full-time job doing what I was doing with my company because I was with them a long time. And we dated for like 7 months. And she was about 10 years younger than me. Real sweetheart. At least I thought. She moved in with me. I asked her to move in with me. I said, hey, maybe we should just join forces and cohabitate. I had my own house. So she left her apartment, moved in with me. We were in my house, moved in. 1 week later, she quit her job. That's where I knew the nightmare began. And I said, what do you mean you quit your job? Well, I can stay home with your dog. And, because I had just bought my Labrador. I can stay home with your dog and be the, clean your house. Because she used to like cleaning houses. That's what her job was full time. She was a housemaid. I can clean your house. I can, do things around here and, make my, I really don't think I need to work. I mean, because she knew I made a lot more money than she made. That's where the nightmare began. And it just snowballed. I'm not going to go into all the detail. It snowballed and snowballed. And when she quit her job, and I told Bruce, I said, once she quit her job, I knew it was over. I knew hell was going to come calling. Because now she was in my face 24/7. I had no place to go. I couldn't go home to my refuge after a long day and just relax. I had to deal with her because she wasn't at her full-time job, which was her own business. And it snowballed. It started snowballing. And so finally one day, after a month of this, I said, hey, Lori, maybe living together isn't the way to go. It's not working for me anymore. I don't have any peace here. And the minute I said the word, I don't have any peace, she lost her fucking mind. Fast forward like another month and a half, I had called the Cincinnati police 2 days before I was going to throw her out of my place. I said, I'm going to have an issue here. Can you have 2 officers come over? So they sent 1 male officer, 1 female officer on the day of reckoning. I came home from work And I told her, I said, I want you out. I want you to leave. This isn't working. She was losing her mind. She was throwing shit at me, pots, pans, glasses. She said, I'm not leaving. Cops at the front door. The cops was at the front door. Is Gary here? Lori goes, who wants to know? Well, yeah. Cops came in. They said, you need to leave. They physically removed her from my house. Screaming, kicking and screaming. So that was and I said to Bruce the other night when I was talking to him about it, he goes, I didn't know all the details, Gary, until just today. I said, yeah, it was bad. You don't really know someone until you live with them. Once you live with someone, and I highly suggest this, but because it'd be like you get married to someone and then you're full frontal. You're right in it. You can't backtrack because you got it on paper, you're married. But you should live with someone first to figure it out, to see what kind of a nightmare you're going to have or not have. Maybe it works out. I'm sure there's people out there listening to this that have horror stories. I went 8 years single after that nightmare. 8 years until I met a real nice lady. And we dated for 3 years. And then she moved out of the state because of her job. If she hadn't, I would have married her. That's how much in love I was in love with this woman, and she moved. But there are nightmares. That's why I said to Bruce the other night, I said, Bruce, count your blessings, bro. Because there's nothing worse. If you're having a hard day on the job, and it's a stressful job, because every job has stress levels. We could all agree with that. Whether you're pumping gas in cars at a pump jockey, or flipping hamburgers at McDonald's, or you have a high-end job in a corporate business downtown Cincinnati, and you're in charge of 5,000 people. Regardless, every job has its level of stress. You have to answer to the man. You got to go to the grind 8 hours a day or more. So when you're driving home from that job and you're thinking, oh, thank God I'm out of there for 8 more hours or whatever, 10 more hours. You get home, you want to relax. Your home is your solace. It's your safe place. It's peace. It's peace. And if you go home to a fucking albatross of a wife or a girlfriend, or for women, an albatross of a man, a boyfriend, or a husband, there's no peace in that. It's just bringing the nightmare over and over again. So you leave a stressful job, you come home to a stressful home. Fuck and that all day. And I'm sure, like I said, there's people out there listening to this that they can totally relate. You know, Gary, you're right. Nothing worse than having an albatross. If you don't know where an albatross is, Google it. You'll figure it out. I'm not going to say it today, but or explain it. But I said to Bruce, count your blessings, bro. You got a beautiful house here in Loveland. You got a beautiful dog Pilot. You got a solid job. You work from home now. You got the world by the ass. You have enough. I mean, people ask me sometimes, hey, Gary, how you doing? I said, better than some, worse than others. That's my line. Better than some and worse than others. I'm grateful for what I have. I got a cute little condo. It's paid for. I got a car that's paid for. I'm retired. I'm living good. I'm peaceful. I don't want any bullshit. And I told Bruce, I said, count your blessings, Bruce. Your shit's all paid for like mine. You're a couple years younger than I am, but you're on the road. You're on the path to retiring soon. Relationships are not what they seem. I know everybody out there would love to have someone on their arm. Oh, New Year's is coming. I don't want to be alone again. I like being alone New Year's Eve. Sit there and watch the ball drop. Eat some shrimp cocktail. You get a glass of wine if that's what your thing is. Then go to bed at 12:05. What the fuck? There's nothing more peaceful than your alone time. You came in this world alone, you will leave alone. Think about that. You don't need someone to hold your hand. And there's a lot of people out there that are highly medicated for mood swings and imbalances in their brain. I've met a few women like that are just fucked up. And there's women out there I know that have told me their stories about guys that are fucked up. Just stay married to yourself. Be good to yourself. That's the thing. Be good to yourself and heal. And I've talked about that in other episodes. Heal the problems from your last one. Lick your wounds and move on. And if the right one comes along, the universe will put that person in your path. I told that to Bruce on his 7th beer. Because I brought him a rack, which is 6, and he participated in drinking more. I hope he gets his shit together. I'm sure he will. He's a smart guy. But, it's just like the short version of the bullshit. There's more harm that can come from the human psyche being married or being involved with a partner that is not balanced correctly in the brain and can't handle rejection. Can't handle the fact that we aren't getting along anymore. Hey, honey, we're not getting along anymore. Maybe we should go our separate ways. Instead of losing your mind and being moved out of someone's house by the cops, being cuffed and stuffed. That shit happened. That was a fucking nightmare. Anyway, that's all I got. I got things I got to do. I slept in today. I woke up at around 7:30. That's sleeping in for me. Felt great. Anyway, you have a fantastic weekend. I'm sure I'll hear from you. Or you won't hear. I won't hear from you. You'll hear from me. Because you know me. I can't shut my mouth. I'll probably do another one of these Saturday and Sunday. Or maybe probably just Sunday. Because there's a lot of good racing going on. Horse racing on Saturday I want to partake in. Want to watch. We're getting close to the Kentucky Derby. That's my Super Bowl. All right. That's all I got. Have a great Friday. Take care of yourselves and each other. Peace out.